Chapter.
Throughout history, watchmakers have found different ways to utilize metals in watchmaking, not just in the cases that you see on the exterior, but also in the movements. Steel is the most common metal used in watchmaking. Steel has higher tensile strength than any other metal used in watchmaking. It's the easiest to refinish, it holds its luster the best, and it's the most secure and water resistant of all the metals for weight to mass ratio in making the most heavy-duty cases for the deepest diving watches in today's construction. Another very common metal in watch case design these days is platinum. Platinum throughout history has been reserved for the top level of watch cases, just as it is jewelry. Platinum is, by weight, the heaviest of the metals. The upside of platinum is platinum does not scratch as easily as white gold will. The downside of platinum is actually very malleable. It actually stretches, it twists, it bends. A little different care has to be taken with platinum. If you stretch a bracelet on a platinum watch, which you can, it's more difficult to repair. It'll actually tear instead of stretching. Platinum's always been reserved for the higher end of the watchmaking. We talk about Pateks that use platinum right now. It's always distinguishable from stainless steel or white gold by the diamond inset at 6 o'clock. So if you see a watch with the diamond inset at 6 and it's a Patek, you can be rest assured it's a platinum piece. Titanium is another material commonly used in watchmaking. Extremely light, extremely tough. It has its drawbacks to where it doesn't hold the thread very, very well. It'll actually flex. It refinishes relatively easy. Most of the finishes on titanium are satin or sandblasted. I've seen a few times, I've seen polished cases in titanium, and it's very difficult to get a polished finish on that. It tends to heat up, it tends to generate a lot of heat when it comes to refinishing titanium. We have to use lubricants on the threads. Going back to that, talking about the threads on a titanium watch, we have to use either a fomblin or a wax on the threads. As we're putting them together, they tend to bind up. But it's a very, very lightweight. It's a good construction. It's good for a watch. It's extremely, extremely lightweight. Ceramic or silicium is the newest trend in watchmaking, and so it seems, both internally as components and as case designs. Ceramic is an extremely, extremely hard material. It's hard, but it's also brittle. If you drop it, it's going to break. You may see a scratch on the side of a ceramic case. The ceramic itself is not scratched. It's whatever you bumped up against is actually scratched and it's transferred to the ceramic case. That's removable. The downside of ceramic is it's so hard that it's actually brittle. If you drop it on a floor, if you slam it against the wrong thing, or you hit it the right way, the ceramic can actually crack. Gold historically does scratch easy. It's a very soft metal. Most watches are made out of 18 karat gold and not 14 karat. The higher number you go, the more pure the gold is. So yes, an 18 karat gold watch will scratch very easily. You can scratch an 18 karat gold watch just by putting it on. Out of the three golds, white is the strongest of the golds. It scratches easily, but not as easy as yellow gold or rose gold. It has a little different sheen than steel would. Unless you really put the two pieces together, you wouldn't be able to tell a steel watch from a white gold watch unless you picked them up. They've changed the composition of white gold. All gold is an alloy. It's not pure gold. It's mixed with different components to get different colors out of it. At one point, they couldn't get it white enough, so it was always rhodium plated to give it that real mirror-like finish to it. Now they have white gold. It's actually considered gray gold, which is closer to a steel color to it. It's a fabulous, fabulous material for watchmaking. A lot of high-end watches are using it. It's very tough to distinguish, though, a white gold watch from a steel watch, unless you hold them in your hands. Yellow gold is historically one of the most common golds. It was very, very popular throughout history. Yellow gold is a little softer than white gold, but it does have that bright sparkle and shine, especially in the sunlight. Rose gold. Everybody's making watches out of rose gold these days. Every brand has a patent on their color of rose gold. Everyone's a little different in shade, from Hublot to Rolex to Audemars. They're not the same rose gold. Each one has a little different color to it, a different composition. Strength-wise, it's the same as yellow gold. It's a little softer than white gold is. On a scale, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, though. It's still going to scratch easily, but boy, when it shines, it shines. One of the newest creations by Hublot is magic gold. It starts off as ceramic, gold, and It's like instead of a lost wax process, the gold actually displaces the molecules. And even though it's a ceramic, it's held together with ceramic, it cracks like ceramic, it is 18 karat gold, and by composition and by weight. So you have this gold that's fused together with ceramic. The good side is it does not scratch. The bad side is it does crack. So it's one of those trade-offs. It does have a little bit of a different color. It doesn't shine like gold, but it's going to hold the color that it has. One of the other metals we've seen in watchmaking throughout history, more recently in the last probably 20 years, has been tantalum. Tantalum is a very gray material. On the outside, it'll look like titanium. When you pick it up, it's 4 times the weight of steel. On the Rockwell hardness scale, it's just under ceramic, which makes it a very, very hard metal, but it's also very, very brittle as a metal that will actually crack if dropped. It's almost impossible to refinish it. I worked for brands such as Hublot, where we used it and we could not refinish the watches. We actually had to replace the components. Anytime they will scratch, they will crack, but it takes much, much more of an impact to scratch it or crack it. It's not used very widely in watchmaking, but when it is, it's a very, very durable metal, and it's more of a bridge between steel, titanium, and ceramics. One of the more interesting metals used in watchmaking today is bronze. In the collector's world, we do not refinish any bronze watches. We'll clean them, and that's the extent of it. The manufacturers will not refinish bronze watches. They clean them, and again, that's the extent of it. You want that patina, you want the age to it. You want that color, that discoloration. That doesn't mean it has to look like it came from the Titanic, completely encrusted in green, which, if you looked on Instagram, you'll find some Panerai pictures like that, just completely unusable, destroyed watches. But bronze gets a beautiful, beautiful color to it as it ages. It's a very, very cool material. It kind of harkens back to the diving helmets, and that's why they kind of focus on dive watches with bronze material. One of the other materials used in watch cases is carbon fiber. There's different grades of carbon fiber. There's different ways to do carbon fiber. You have the commonly seen, little cross patch pattern that you see in carbon fiber. Extremely strong, extremely durable. It's used in 250-mile-an-hour race cars, but it also chips. It's actually flexible. So carbon fiber is one of those strange materials where, as strong as it is, it does have its downside. AP is one of the brands that makes an entire carbon case, which is very cool, and it's actually very, very durable because of the thickness of the case. Panerai has a different version of carbon fiber where instead of doing a weave, they actually do layers. So when they machine it around, it looks like a wood grain along the side of it, and no two are alike. So there's different ways to do carbon fiber, and what carbon fiber is, it's different layers of material glued together by heat and pressure to make one solid block, and then it's machined out of that. The components are actually machined. We talk about precious metals in case construction, but let's also talk about precious metals inside in the internal components of the watches. Back 100 years ago, when American watchmaking was at its zenith, Hamilton, Elgin, Illinois, on their highest grade watches, they use gold for the wheels. And those watches today, 100 years later, when you open one up, if the watch has been worked on properly and hasn't been scratched, those wheels just shine like they're brand new. We're still seeing a resurgence of that. We're seeing gold used as wheels. We're seeing gold used in the internal components of the watch. We talk about FP Journe. All the current FP Journe models are, the entire movement is made out of rose gold. From the main plate to the bridges to the rotor, they're all rose gold. They're absolutely stunning pieces, but again, rose gold is very, very soft. If that watch is taken apart by an unskilled watchmaker, then that's something we would never recommend, and they scratch very, very easily, and the penalty for that scratch is very, very high. When we talk about gold as far as a main plate, that would be an aesthetic component. Main plates are historically made out of brass, and they're rhodium plated. They're nickel plated, then rhodium plated to get that white color to them. They make them out of brass. Brass is a very stable material. It's a lightweight material. It holds its shape. It doesn't deform. So we see historically movements made out of brass. Frank Mueller likes to use, they'll use a 2892 movement, but they'll use a platinum rotor segment, and they put a piece of platinum on the bottom side of the rotor for that extra weight. Micro rotors are historically made out of 22 karat or higher gold. just because of the weight and the size of the rotor to make them more efficient. Laurent Ferrier uses gold for the micro rotor. Chopard uses gold for a micro rotor. We talk about a brand like Patek Philippe, and they use gold for all of their rotors, be it a micro rotor or a full-size rotor. And their higher grade complications, they'll offer 2 different case backs. They'll offer a solid case back, or they'll offer a display case back. It's your option which one you want to use. It's always important to keep in mind when making that watch purchase what you're going to use it for, and that'll dictate what kind of metal and what kind of price point you're going to be in. You don't see a lot of dive watches made out of gold, made out of platinum, although they do exist. Dive watches are going to be steel, they're going to be bronze. When we talk about dress watches, that's when we get into the golds, the platinums. We talk about ceramics, you're paying on the ceramic, you're paying for the high-tech equipment it costs to make it, the precision that you're going to have built into it. Carbon fiber, you're talking about stuff that was designed to be used in race cars, being put on your wrist. So even though the carbon fiber or the ceramic doesn't have the value in weight as gold, as a precious metal, that's where the value comes from, is from the R&D to make it, from the precision, from the equipment. So it's a different kind of value, even though it's not a weight or a monetary value that can be put in weight. So when you think about what kind of watch do I want, what am I going to use it for, let that dictate what kind of metal you want. If you want a dress watch, go for the gold. Go for the gold that you want to have, be it white gold, be it rose gold, be it yellow gold. Go for the platinum. You're looking for a sport watch, go for the bronze, go for the silver. I'm Michael Michaels of Watchbox, and that's my take on materials used in watchmaking.